Welcome back to another episode of In Case You Missed It, the weekly recap on this channel. And in case you missed it, there's been a lot of movement in the standings, specifically the West. The number one team is now the Denver Nuggets. So yeah, a lot to discuss, so let's get right into it. The Washington Wizards won 2 games this week in hopes of trying to keep their playoff hopes alive, even though they were officially eliminated from the postseason this week. But let's be honest, we all knew they were eliminated from the moment their roster was set. But yeah, they're officially done. So are the Spurs. Flight Reacts must have been very, very mad when he saw the first Warriors-Spurs game as Steph Curry and Victor Wembanyama were both out. Must have been hilarious. Then you look at the week as a whole for the Spurs. They showed a lot of good flashes of potential for a young team this week, which was really nice to see. But again, they're eliminated. And the final team that was actually officially eliminated this week was no other than the Detroit Pistons. They won 3 games this week, which is a season record. Cade Cunningham and Jaden Ivey looked amazing in one game together. So yeah, there's a little promise there. G.G. Jackson had 30 on the Thunder this week, but the storyline of the week for me was this dude named Trey Jemison, who I had not heard about until the Wizards game where he dropped 24 and 6 on 11 of 13 shooting. So shout out to him. The Hornets lost to the Pistons and Wizards this week, so a part of me wanted to shun them completely, which we are going to do, but we need to show some love to all the players they acquired at this year's deadline because they have been cooking. Unfortunately, they play for the Hornets, so nobody really cares. If you have ever watched just about any movie with twins as the main characters, 8 times out of 10 they switch places and alternate between who does something and who doesn't. RJ Barrett and Emmanuel Quickley are alternating exactly like that because one day Quickley goes off for 21 points and 18 assists without Barrett. Then Barrett plays 2 games later and goes off for 26, 7, and 9 without Quickley. And they just keep alternating games they play, and it's just kind of funny to me. But the Raptors are awful, so not much else to talk about. Delano Bantoon has been cooking for the Blazers of late, if you did not know, so shout out to him. It seems like every night the Nets have a different player going off. Last week, each of the Twins had an elite game. This week, Dennis Schroeder went off for 31 and 8 and a loss against the Pistons on Thursday night. Shameful, but to make all matters worse, they lost to the Hornets as well. So this week's shun of the week goes to the Brooklyn Nets. The Jazz played 2 games this week, and they're against the Nuggets and Celtics, which is not ideal, and you already know they didn't win. But in a way, they did win because Keontae George went off in both games and had great games in both of them, and they really have their franchise guard with him. He's doing stuff that a lot of people don't do as young guards. DeJounte Murray was trying to get his trade value up this week, especially against the Grizzlies, as he dropped 41, 7, and 6 on 17 of 25 shooting. And he dropped 40 on the Blazers. Bro is stat padding. I'm just kidding. But I'm not kidding when I say that he needs to be moved to a team like the Pelicans this offseason, since that would be nice. The past 2 weeks, DeMar DeRozan has turned back the clock and is now playing like he was in Toronto. Matter of fact, past 2 weeks has reminded me of the Bulls in his first year in Chicago, or better known as the only time the Bulls have been good in the past 5 years, because he has been electric like he was in 2022. Tragic injury to Sengun, as he was one of the most entertaining young players of the season. Get well soon. It's not as significant of an injury as we all thought initially after seeing it, since it did not look great. But the Rockets did go 3-0 this week, though, so props to them. I'm not giving them Team of the Week, though, so sorry, Rockets fans. Y'all probably don't care about the 76ers, especially since Maxey didn't even play much, on top of the absence of Embiid. They did beat the Knicks, though, as they held them to 73 points in a game this week, which may sound impressive, but it just shows you how boring the game was. Painful sight to see if you're an NBA fan that Steph Curry got injured, and it is very unfortunate because the Warriors are starting to look like the best they have all season. Now they look bad again. I knew I was right not to give Magic Team of the Week last week because they started playing good teams this week and they got killed twice. They did beat the Nets though, but that doesn't really count. But yeah, they struggle against good teams, in large part due to the fact they can't shoot. And that just allows opposing defenses to scheme double teams to Paolo. It allows people to help off, so it does not leave the floor space enough for Paolo to do any work, and that is why they lose to good teams. Although he has been in Miami for a good amount of time, Terry Rozier may have finally arrived this week as he opened it with his best game as a member of the Heat, as he dropped a calm 27 points, 6 rebounds, and 11 assists. Is it just me, or ever since he was traded to the Pacers, Pascal Siakam became the most forgotten about all-star caliber player in the league? He has still been producing, but if you only listen to the media, probably haven't heard anything about him in a while. So here's your reminder that Pascal Siakam is on the Pacers, and he's still doing what he would do in Toronto, just he's winning more games. Also, Benedict Mathurin is out for the season with a torn labrum. Very sad news. D'Lo has been different of late, and against the Bucks, as many of you know, he had 44, 9, and 6 with 9 3-pointers made. AD went off in a different game this week for 27, 25, 5, and 10 stocks. LeBron doing what he does. The Lakers have all three of those players consistent on the same night, and they can figure out how to play defense. It will be a tough out in the postseason. Jared Allen has continually been a monster this year, and he proved that against the Timberwolves as he had 33 and 18 on Rudy Gobert. Garland also went off for 34 and 8 in that game, but they lost to the Nets, which makes me wonder why they be losing games they are supposed to win, but winning games they should lose. It really makes no sense. The Knicks' performance against the 76ers the first time they played them this week needs to be studied, because what was that? Coaching-wise, your team needed offense, but your best offensive players were on the bench. That made absolutely no sense. Then for the players, at a certain point, you should understand that the 76ers are very undermanned without Maxey and Embiid, and they are very undersized. So why would you shoot threes exclusively knowing that y'all can't buy one? Attack the hoop. 1 of 7 from 3 for Josh Hart, 3 of 12 for DiVincenzo. Brunson was 1 for 9. Like, what are y'all doing? I know for a fact Jay Wright taught y'all how to get 2 feet in the paint and effectively score, or just break down a defense and get into the paint. Like, stop shooting threes if you're not making them. Simple logic. But in case you missed it, OG Anunoby made his return after a long absence for the Knicks. But I think there is a huge problem for the New York Knicks that is being very, very overlooked. That problem is in fact the injuries, but it is how the injuries are going to make it nearly impossible for this team to gain any chemistry for the postseason. Historically, you look at teams who make massive moves during a regular season, and if they deal with injuries, they really don't look all that great in the postseason, no matter how good they were in the minimal time in the regular season. For example, my Suns last year, Kevin Durant, we were undefeated with them in the regular season. In the playoffs, we had no idea. Playoffs are very different than regular season. So you look at that, then you factor in how their coach really struggles with rotations to begin with. These injuries are way more problematic than we are believing right now, and we need to be more cautious before making statements like the Knicks are going to the conference finals, especially since they could end up playing Boston round 2. But on paper, yes, the Knicks are great. Don't get butthurt here. They have a great team on paper. I'm not taking that away from them. I'm just saying injuries are really going to catch up with them, and it's going to hurt Thibodeau's rotation, and it's going to make a lot of chemistry issues, no matter how good they look in the regular season. But basketball is better when the Knicks are good, so I'm not rooting for them to lose. I'm just pointing out the facts. Sorry if you took offense to that, but it's the truth. They have a very big problem. We need to talk about Anthony Davis's father. Domantas Sabonis is 10-0 against Anthony Davis in his career, which is crazy to think about. I'm personally wondering if we get a Kings-Lakers playing game, if that would turn out the same. Time will tell. For my Suns, we saw the true potential of our big three. KD dropped 37, 8, and 6. Book had 27, 6, and 7. And Beal had 24, 5, and 4. And all shot better than 50% from the floor in the same game. If this is what we get nightly in the postseason, we're going to be a nightmare matchup. A lot of people are finally giving the Pelicans the credit they deserve, even though I've been giving them that credit all year. So I'm going to just reiterate that this is a dangerous postseason team that no Western Conference team wants to play. After I called them out last week, it only makes sense that the Mavericks start winning games again. Guess that's what happens when you have to overreact to everything as a content creator. Kawhi got hurt this week if you missed it, and if he has any significant injury, the Clippers season is over. I don't care. Like, obviously, Paul George and James Harden, if one of those two were to get hurt, it'd be very, very major. But Kawhi Leonard is very, very different. If they don't have Kawhi, they're not going to do anything. I don't know how to feel about the Bucks. I personally trust them more in the postseason. This team's made for the postseason, not necessarily the regular season. And they're still not terrible in the regular season. They just have a lot of glaring issues. But yeah, we'll see come playoff time. The most entertaining team of the week was without a doubt the Minnesota Timberwolves. Anthony Edwards just being himself is always entertaining, but Rudy Gobert flashing these bribery signs saying the refs were getting paid, that was absolutely hilarious. Unfortunately for the Timberwolves, they fell down to the 3 seed. but could be a blessing in disguise. I mean, you might get to play my Suns in the first round, and you should probably beat them, so I wouldn't hang my head too much about it if I was a Timberwolves fan. The more SGA goes off, the more I consider him to be the MVP because the Thunder keep winning. So I want you to comment down below who your MVP is. I really don't know who to pick. It really changes every day for me, so I just want to hear from y'all who you think the MVP of the season is. Jason Tatum in the most anticipated game of the regular season for the Celtics. 15 points on 5 of 13 shooting. Jaylen Brown, on the other hand, had 41 and 14. Tatum is the better player. Do not get me wrong. He is the best player on the Celtics team. But if the roles were reversed, Celtics fans would be saying it's Jaylen Brown's fault they lost. But they go quiet when Tatum is the one who doesn't show up. It really makes absolutely no sense to me. That's just my personal view on that. It is basically confirmed that if the Nuggets don't deal with injuries, they are going to repeat because they have little broed the Celtics twice now, and that is the only team I really think can beat them fully healthy. Best team in the league, and they are peaking at the right time, which should be very scary for the NBA. And of course, we can't do a weekly recap without giving out the weekly awards. This week's Player of the Week is Kevin Durant, who averaged 39.7 rebounds and 4 assists in a 2-in-1 week. He was really cooking against some of the best defenses in the NBA, as he did this against the Celtics and Cavs. The team of the week is without a doubt the Nuggets, who proved us why they are still the best team in the league and silence any and all doubt about them come postseason time. The clutch player of the week is in fact DeMar DeRozan for the second week in a row, specifically for his performance against the Pacers to end the week, as he had 46 points and a clutch shot to send the game to OT, where they would ultimately win. The underrated player of the week is Miles Turner. He averaged 19, 6, and 4 this week, but in the last 2 games of the week, he averaged 26, 5, and 3. Bet you didn't know that, and that is why he's the underrated player of the week. The most disappointing team of the week is without a doubt the Miami Heat, as they went 0-4, including a loss to the Wizards, which is unforgivable for any contender. And my worst player of the week is James Harden, who averaged 13 points, 9 assists, and 6 rebounds a game on horrible efficiency and many turnovers. The competition got better this week, and Harden got worse. Shocker. Y'all have a good one. That's it from me. Weekly recaps come out every Thursday, so make sure you subscribe and turn on post notifications so you don't miss the next. Have a good one. Bye.